Delusional Manifestation Urgency, Special Edition. The City of Music and the First Summon. Scene 1. The beginning of the journey, first impressions of the city. Narrative reading version, smooth, emotional, and easy to read. Soft morning sounds. The hum of a bus engine, children's laughter fills the air. Gentle sunlight filters through the windows, casting golden patterns across the seats. Morning light streamed through the bus windows, wrapping everything in a warm glow. Children laughed, their voices blending into a lively chorus of excitement. "Hey, look at that tree!" someone shouted. "No way! Is that a building or a giant plant?" Another gasped. Laughter echoed down the rows of seats, but at the back of the bus, near the window, Ttaemun-e sat quietly. He rested his chin on his hand, gaze fixed on the scenery rushing past. Trees blurred into waves of green. Rolling hills stretched beyond the horizon, and yet something unsettled stirred in his chest. Why, does this place feel so familiar? He wondered. Not a memory, not exactly. Just a feeling, like standing at the edge of a dream you're about to remember, but can't. The bus jolted over a bump. "Whoa," someone yelped. Laughter flared again. Up front, their teacher and guide stood with one hand gripping the overhead rail. His gaze swept over the students, smile easy. But when his eyes met Ttaemun-e's, something passed between them. A flicker of knowing, a wordless warning. First stop, Nature District. The bus slowed, brakes hissing. Outside, the world had changed. Gone were the typical buildings of steel and glass. Here, nature and architecture breathed together. Massive trees stretched toward the sky, their roots wrapping around buildings like protective arms. Vines draped balconies, flowers bloomed from rooftops, and just beyond, a shimmering lake reflected the morning sun, perfectly still. Above it, a sky bridge arched gracefully, its supports woven with ivy and moss. The children pressed against the windows. "Whoa! That's straight out of a fairy tale!" "Do you think those trees grew like that?" Or Ttaemun-e stared at the lake. Its surface rippled, and for the briefest moment he saw something beneath the water. Not fish, not debris. Shapes. Moving, watching, blink, gone. He sat back, frowning. "Get a grip. It's just your imagination." "All right, kids." AI's voice snapped their attention forward. "Welcome to the Nature District, home of architecture that literally grows on you. And for the record, don't touch the roots." A pause. "They don't like it." Laughter, nervous, uncertain, filled the bus. Second stop, Digital District. 15 minutes later, they crossed into a completely different world. Nature's greens and earth tones faded away, replaced by neon lights and flickering holograms. Buildings stretched impossibly high, their surfaces alive with shifting digital art. Holographic advertisements floated in the air, some playing soft jingles, others projecting dazzling colors that seemed to reach out and touch the bus. Download a memory, relive your best day. Dreams on demand, 1 credit per dream. Students gawked. That guy just walked through a wall. No way. Look at her phone. It's floating. "Are those drones selling snacks?" Ttaemun-e's gaze drifted upward. A screen overhead flickered, static washing across it. Then words appeared. "Do you see it yet?" Blink, static gone, his stomach twisted. What was that? AI's voice pulled him back. "Careful staring too long. These ads? They hook you." Ttaemun-e shook his head, trying to shake the unease. Final stop, Music District, and then they arrived. The Music District wasn't just seen. It was felt. Even before the bus doors opened, sounds seeped in, gentle melodies that floated like mist. The ground hummed with a subtle rhythm. Stepping off the bus, Ttaemun-e felt it instantly. The pulse, like the city had a heartbeat, and his own heart matched it. Street lamps chimed softly, buildings sang in low, resonant chords. Every breeze carried notes that swirled and danced through the air. "It's like the air's making music," someone whispered. Minho stretched his arms wide. "Feels like we're walking through a giant speaker." Ttaemun-e's eyes scanned the streets. He couldn't tell where the music ended and the world began. Everything flowed together. AI gathered the group. "This is it, the heart of the city." He smiled. "Tonight, you won't just hear the music." A pause. "You'll become part of it." Excited murmurs erupted. "Wait, are we performing?" "No way. Seriously." Ttaemun-e's pulse quickened. His fingertips tingled. Warmth spreading through his chest. He glanced at AI, that knowing look again, unspoken words. "You feel it too, don't you?" But before Ttaemun-e could speak, A faint note, high, pure, familiar, floated through the streets. His breath caught. I've heard that before. Scene closing, whispers beneath the melody. As they walked deeper into the district, glowing notes drifted like fireflies. In alleyways, shadows shifted, eyes unseen, watched. Far behind the group, a figure stood beneath a flickering streetlight. They smiled, soft, knowing, and whispered, "Tonight, the first note begins." The wind picked up, carrying that haunting melody, that familiar song fading into the night. Scene 2. The setting sun bathes the music district in golden light. The streets glow with soft notes, drifting lazily in the air like fireflies. Laughter echoes faintly in the distance. Yet beneath the warmth, something deeper hums, a heartbeat in the fabric of the city itself. Arrival at the lodging. The group turned a corner, and there it was, their lodging. From the outside it looked ordinary, faded wooden doors, ivy curling along the stone walls, a weathered sign swaying gently in the breeze. But the air around it vibrated, subtle, persistent, like standing beside a heartbeat you could feel but not hear. AI paused at the entrance, glancing back at the students. "Looks can be deceiving," he said with a smirk. "Keep your minds open." He pushed the doors open. They creaked, long and slow, and the world... Inside, a living melody. Stepping inside was like walking into a dream. The walls shifted with colour, patterns blooming and fading with every footstep. Notes, tiny glowing motes, floated lazily through the air, spinning like playful sparks. Each breath tasted faintly of vanilla and something sweet, something familiar. Whoa, it's like the building's alive. Is that music coming from the walls? Every surface hummed softly. The floors, smooth wood, resonated beneath their feet. Each step a note, every movement a sound. Ttaemun-e stood still, the warmth in his chest stronger now, almost too strong. Why does this feel like it's pulling me in? The residents appear, a soft chime echoed overhead, and then they entered. 5 women emerged from the far side of the room, their presence immediate, their auras undeniable. The room seemed to bend around them, air thickening with anticipation. The soprano Lyra, the first woman, stepped forward, graceful, her gaze calm, yet piercing, as if she saw through you. She closed her eyes and sang, one note, just one. But it wasn't just sound, it wrapped around you. Warmth, comfort, like being held in a memory of safety and love. Students swayed, eyes fluttering shut. Even Minho, always fidgeting, stood perfectly still. His breathing slowed, his shoulders dropped. When the note faded, it left a silence so full it felt like music itself. "Her name's Lyra," AI said quietly. "Careful, she sings truths." Lyra opened her eyes, lips curling into a small smile. "Only when people need to hear them," she murmured. "The twin sisters, Lyra and Mira." Next came 2 girls, identical in face, different in aura. One had silver hair that shimmered like moonlight, the other golden, glowing like the setting sun. Both had soft fox-like ears twitching atop their heads and tails that swayed rhythmically behind them. "Wait, are those real?" someone whispered. The silver-haired twin, Lyra, grinned. Only one way to find out. A brave student reached out. Whap! Her tail flicked up, smacking his hand. Laughter erupted. "Gotcha," Lyra winked. Meanwhile, the golden twin, Mira, watched silently, her eyes warm. She glanced at Minho, who stood apart from the group, smiling but distant. Her gaze softened. Light and shadow, Solon and Noira. 2 more figures emerged, opposites in every sense. One bathed in radiant light, skin glowing, hair like spun silver. Her presence soothed, her smile gentle as she raised a hand. Floating orbs of light appeared, less orbiting gracefully. The other stepped from the shadows, her form flickering between solid and smoke. Her voice, when she spoke, was velvet and dusk. "Light reveals, but shadows remember," she said softly. A few students shifted uncomfortably, but Ttaemun-e, his gaze locked on her. There was something about the way the shadows curled, like a memory he couldn't quite reach. The woman of melody aria, and then she stepped forward. Her presence wasn't loud, wasn't commanding, but every note in the room, every flickering light, bent toward her, like gravity, like home. Her hair flowed like liquid music, every movement causing the air around her to shimmer, and when she breathed, the room listened. Her gaze drifted across the students and landed on Ttaemun-e. His chest tightened, heat bloomed under his skin. "You hear it, don't you? Her voice wasn't spoken. It resonated inside him. DMU started, but words failed. Arya smiled. Good, she whispered. You'll need to. The announcement AI clapped his hands, shattering the moment. All right, kids, listen up. Everyone turned. He grinned. Tonight, there's a performance. Pause. And guess what? Eyes widened. You're in it. Gasps. Wait, what? No way, I can't sing. Do I have to dance? AI chuckled. Relax, this city doesn't care if you're a musician. You're already music, your heartbeat, your breath, your existence. All you need to do is listen. Minho groaned. Easy for you to say. DMU's gaze flicked back to Arya, her eyes still on him. That smile, unnerving, reassuring, both. Evening falls, a whispered warning. As the students dispersed to prepare, DMU lingered near a window. Outside, the streets glowed, notes drifted like snowflakes. He touched the glass. Cold, but the warmth in his chest, persistent. What is this place doing to me? Behind him, Arya's voice, soft as a breeze. The city listens, DMU. The question is, are you ready to listen back? His heart skipped. He turned, but she was already gone. Outside, a melody rose. High. Camellia. The night awaited, and so did the music. Night has fallen. Stars blanket the sky, twinkling like distant notes. The air is cool, carrying a soft breeze infused with melodies that seem to come from nowhere and everywhere. The streets of the music district glow with drifting notes, casting soft light over the gathering crowd. Anticipations. The open-air stage stood at the heart of the square, bathed in warm golden light. People filled the area, locals and travellers alike, faces bright with anticipation. Some held glowing orbs that pulsed in rhythm. Others swayed gently to the music floating on the breeze. Backstage, clutched his percussion instrument, hands clammy. His pulse thudded against his ribs, matching the hum of the city. Each breath tasted of music, familiar and foreign all at once. Why do I feel like this is more than just a performance? Beside him, Minho fidgeted. This is crazy, he muttered. We're performing, in front of all those people. His eyes darted toward the audience. Hundreds, no, thousands, watching, waiting. It'll be fine, a classmate whispered. Just follow the rhythm. Easy for you to say, Minho grumbled, wiping sweaty palms on his pants. Further back, Aish stood with arms crossed. His gaze scanned the crowd, but his attention kept flicking toward DMU. A thought tugged at him, unsettling, persistent. There's something else here tonight. I can feel it. The performance begins. A hush fell as the lights dimmed. The crowd's murmurs quieted, breaths held. Then Lyra stepped onto the stage. No introduction, no announcement. Just her. She closed her eyes and sang. One note. Clear. Pure. It spread through the air, a wave of warmth, seeping into skin, bone, soul. DMU's heart clenched. Memories flickered. A summer day, laughter on the wind, a hand he hadn't held in too long. The audience swayed, eyes glistening. Even Minho, tense and bristling, relaxed. His shoulders dropped, breath slowed. The note faded, but the feeling lingered. Next came the twin sisters, Lyra and Mira. They leapt onto the stage, tails swirling like golden and silver ribbons. Their dance was playful chaos. A flick here, a spin there. Notes scattering like sparks with every movement. Lyra winked at the crowd. Mira's gaze swept over them, soft, steady, anchoring the energy in grace. Children in the audience giggled. Adults smiled, drawn into the moment. Minho chuckled under his breath. Okay, that's pretty cool. Solon and Noira followed. Light and shadow, opposites intertwining. Solon raised her hands. Glowing orbs emerged, floating above the crowd like tiny suns. They burst into shimmering stardust. The audience gasped. Then Noira stepped forward. Darkness curled from her fingertips, weaving through the light, not consuming it, dancing with it, a delicate balance. A reminder, light isn't beautiful without shadow. The children's turn. AI's voice echoed backstage. All right, you're up. DMU's breath caught. This was it. He stepped forward, Minho at his side. The stage lights blinding, the crowd endless. His heart pounded, palms slick, fingers trembling. Just breathe. AI sat at the grand piano, fingers poised. He glanced at DMU, a small nod. You've got this. The first note struck, soft, gentle. A ripple across still water. The children followed, flutes layering in like morning mist, strings adding warmth, drums steady, heartbeat-like. DMU raised his instrument, tapped. Once, twice, 3 times. Something clicked. The city answered. Notes drifted from the buildings. Lights pulsed in sync. Even the ground seemed to hum beneath their feet. DMU's chest glowed. Faint at first, then brighter. Warmth spread through him from fingertips to toes. A pulse, a connection. The audience swayed, eyes closed, hearts open. DMU lost himself in it. The music wasn't around him, it was him. Hidden tensions. As the final note echoed, a beat of silence, then thunderous applause, cheers, laughter, shouts of joy. Minho grinned. We did it? He looked out at the crowd, face bright. They actually... But DMU, his smile faltered, his gaze drifted to the edge of the audience. A figure, still, watching, eyes gleaming, smile, blink, gone. His chest tightened, not warmth this time, cold. Hey, AI's voice beside him, quiet, serious. You felt it too, didn't you? DMU nodded. That wasn't just the music. No, AI said grimly, it wasn't. Scene closing, beneath the applause. As the crowd dispersed, laughter echoing into the night, the streets sang, but beneath the melody a whisper, unheard, unseen, waiting. Far above, a shadowed figure perched on a rooftop, eyes locked on DMU, a soft hum, low, sinister. They smiled. One note leads to another, and next time, pause. The real song begins. The wind carried the words away, but the chill lingered. DMU stared at the darkened streets, heart still glowing. But now, heavy. What's coming? He didn't know. Not yet, but something big was already on its way. Scene 3. Dawn breaks gently over the music district. The golden glow of morning spills across cobblestone streets, carrying the lingering warmth of last night's melodies. The city hums softly, but beneath the calm, something stirs. Morning calm, or so it seems. Wake up, breakfast is ready. The lodging buzzed with morning energy. Children gathered at long tables, voices overlapping with laughter and half-awake mumbles. Plates clinked, steam curled from mugs of cocoa and tea. Last night was insane, someone gushed. I still can't believe we performed. My grandma's never going to believe this, another laughed. Minho sat at the end of the table, for once, as he dug into a stack of pancakes. Not bad for a guy who tripped during rehearsal, huh? He got a chorus of laughs in return. But at the far corner, Dim sat quieter than usual, fork untouched, eyes distant. He could still feel it, that warmth from the performance, but now, underneath it, something cold. A shiver crawled up his spine. Why won't that feeling go away? Across the room, Ak caught his gaze. A look passed between them, knowing, unspoken. Something's not right. After breakfast, students packed up their bags, buzzing with energy. Souvenir stalls lined the street outside, glittering trinkets and tiny globes that played soft notes when shaken. Check this out! It sings when you throw it! Whoa! Mine's glowing purple! Minho laughed, pocketing one of the souvenirs. He glanced at the group, huddled together, arms slung around each other, grinning for selfies. And something twisted in his chest. A flicker. A doubt. They're just being nice. They don't really care. His gaze drifted toward the parking lot, empty, quiet. Just a peek, he muttered, slipping away. No big deal. The parking lot, a dangerous impulse. Concrete stretched out before him. Sunlight gleamed off metal hoods. Then he saw it. A sleek black car, keys dangling from the ignition. Minho's heart thudded. No way. A grin spread across his face. Just a quick rev. No one will even notice. Sliding into the driver's seat, he gripped the wheel. Cool leather under his fingers, heart pounding. He turned the key. Engine roars to life. Adrenaline surged. Okay, yeah, that's awesome. Foot on the pedal, the car jolted forward. Tires screeched. Then, slam! The bumper crunched against another vehicle. Metal groaned. Panic flared. I didn't. Then the air changed. Warmth twisted into cold. The world tilted. His reflection in the rearview mirror, eyes empty, mouth moving without him. They cheered, but they didn't mean it. They still see you as a joke. Minho's breath hitched. No, show them. The voice inside twisted deeper. Make them see you. His vision blurred, chest tight. And then the ground beneath cracked open. Chaos unleashed. Boom! Back at the lodging, the explosion of sound sent plates shattering. Students screamed. What was that? Is it an earthquake? AI was already moving. Stay here, he barked, bolting out the door. DMU followed, heart pounding, feet pounding the pavement. The pattern emerges. The parking lot, a mess of twisted metal and fractured ground, and at the center, Minho. But not Minho. Glowing geometric lines spiraled beneath his feet. A massive 10-sided pattern unfurled, edges pulsing with molten hues. Triangles expanded outward, forming intricate lattices, numbers flashing in pi-based sequences. Above him, a swirling Yu-Gi-Oh-shaped crown formed, stone bands orbiting like protective arms. Minho's eyes, glowing. Voice twisted, layered. "Why are you staring? Is what you wanted." Stone pillars erupted, cracks shot toward DMU. He leapt aside, heart hammering. "Minho, stop!" "Why should I?" Minho's hands clenched. "You ignored me, laughed at me." "I didn't." DMU's voice caught, but Minho wasn't listening. The ground quaked, stone ropes lashed out. "Keep moving." AI's desperate analysis. AI skidded to a stop, activating his wrist device. A holographic grid projected mid-air. Patterns spinning, lines connecting. His mind raced. "Come on, give me something." Alternate AI. Outer decagon confirmed. Triangular expansions follow pi sequence. Material attribute Earth. Emotional trigger, inferiority complex. Center node, Yu-Gi-Oh formation detected. Represents pride and defensive isolation. AI's breath caught. He's built himself a fortress out of his own feelings. Outer ring can be destabilized at vertices. Core requires emotional breakthrough. AI glanced at DMU. "You've got to reach him." DMU ducked another Earth spike. "Little busy right now." "Break the outer ring, but talk to him. It's not just about the pattern, it's him." DMU's choice. Stone ropes lashed. DMU dodged, breath burning. Minho. He stood, chest heaving. "I see you, okay? I see you. You're not nothing." Minho's form flickered, his hands trembled. I didn't, then, a twisted laugh. "Use that now." "But where were you before?" Stone walls rose. DMU sprinted, leapt, cracked the decagon's edge with his instrument. Fractures spread, but the Yugen core remained. Minho clutched his head. "I just wanted to matter." "You do!" DMU reached out. "You always did. I didn't know how to show it, but I'm here now." Minho's defenses faltered, but fear gripped him tighter. The sky tears open. Then the sky split apart. Light, darkness, swirling, a cube-shaped rift formed overhead, reality bending, and from it the first summon descended. Energy swirled, eyes ancient, voice resonant, layered with time itself. Burdened child, such weight for one so young. Minho froze. What is... The summon raised a hand. Luminescent meteors rained down, striking the decagon's outer ring. Boom! Cracks exploded across the ground, the pattern fractured, but the Eugen core held. Minho's voice broke. "I didn't want to be left behind. DMU." Breathless, reached out one last time. "You never were." Scene closing, the brink of resolution. The air, heavy, waiting. Minho, eyes wide, tears spilling. The Eugen crown cracked, splintered, and the world held its breath. Scene 5, first summon. Reading, silence. Heavy, oppressive. The air shimmers with tension as the fragmented earth beneath Minho pulses with molten light. The massive 10-sided pattern glows ominously, triangles expanding outward in spiraling complexity. Overhead, the cube-shaped rift twists reality, and the first summon hovers, energy swirling around him like a storm held at bay. The pattern fully awakens. Minho stood at the center of chaos, his form bathed in the glow of the manifested pattern. The ground beneath him pulsed, each beat sending cracks racing outward. Lines of light carved deep into the earth, a perfect decagon, glowing at the edges. From each side, triangles spiraled outward, filled with cascading pi-based sequences, numbers flashing too fast to read. Above Minho's head, the core structure had taken full form. A swirling crown of hardened earth and energy, the Yu-Gi-Oh pattern. Bands of stone and light rotated around him like ancient armor, protecting his most vulnerable place, his heart. Minho's voice echoed, distorted, layered with something other. "Why? Couldn't you just see me?" DMU's struggle. Panting and bruised, wiped sweat from his brow. Every breath burned, every heartbeat pounded in his ears. But still, he stood. "I see you, Minho," he shouted. "I see all of you." Minho's eyes flickered. Pain, anger, fear. "You say that now," Minho growled, "but where were you before?" Stone pillars erupted from the ground. DMU dove aside, dirt and debris exploding behind him. "Can't keep dodging forever. I have to break the pattern, but..." His gaze lifted to the Eugen crown. Solid, impenetrable. That's not just stone. That's... AI's urgent analysis. Not far off, AI manipulated his device, holographic grids spinning around him, lines connected, patterns unfolded. Decagon stability 63%, triangular expansions accelerating, core structure Eugen resilient, emotional barrier reinforcing pride-based defenses. AI clenched his jaw. Pride, protection. He's hiding inside that pattern. From himself. Recommendation. External force will destabilize outer pattern. Core requires emotional resonance intervention. AI's gaze snapped to DMU. You have to reach him. Shatter the outer ring, but speak to his core. The first summon intervenes. Above, the first summon extended a hand. Energy swirled, 1,000 voices speaking as one. Burdened child. Such weight for one so young. Minho flinched. I didn't want this. Light rained down, luminescent meteors striking the ground around him. The decagon fractured, cracks, spider webbing toward the center, but the Eugen core held. Minho doubled over, gripping his head. It's all I had, he choked. If I let go, what's left of me? The emotional breakthrough. DMU stumbled forward, dust swirling around him. He reached out. Voice breaking. You're Minho. That's what's left. That's enough. Minho's breath hitched. No one ever. I should have said it sooner, DMU cut in. I should have seen you, but I'm here now, and I'm not leaving. Silence. Then Minho whispered. You mean it? DMU smiled, tears brimming. Yeah, I do. The pattern collapses. The Eugen crown. Cracks spread. Glowing lines pulsed. Faster, faster. Then shatter. Light burst outward. Blinding, weightless. Minho collapsed forward. DMU caught him. Arms wrapping tight. I got you, DMU whispered. You're not alone. Minho sobbed, voice small. I wanted to matter. You do, DMU murmured. You always did. Aftermath. The ground stilled. Cracks faded. The air lighter, like the world finally exhaled. The first summon hovered above, eyes ancient, gaze gentle. Lesson learned. Burden eased, but your journey continues. His form began to dissolve, energy folding back into the rift overhead. AI stepped beside DMU, voice soft. You did good. DMU, exhausted, smiled faintly. It wasn't me, it was us. The cube-shaped rift closed with a final chime. Silence returned. But not emptiness. Scene closing, whispers of what's next. Later, Minho sat beneath a tree, eyes closed, breathing, healing. DMU leaned against the trunk beside him, no words needed. Across the lot, AI gazed at the sky. His device beeped, residual energy detected. Warning, pattern echoes remain. AI frowned. This isn't over. Far above, high on a rooftop, a shadowed figure watched, eyes gleaming, smile sharp, and in the distance a faint haunting melody began to play, soft, sinister, familiar. The wind carried a whisper. One pattern ends, another begins. Scene 6. Soft morning light filters through the trees, casting gentle golden beams over the quiet streets of the music district. The air, once thick with tension, now carries the scent of rain-washed stone and the faintest lingering notes of last night's melody. The calm after the storm. Silence. Not the heavy, suffocating kind that hung over the city during the manifestation, but a relieved silence. A stillness that breathed. The cracked parking lot, once alive with glowing patterns and chaos, now bore only faint scars etched into the concrete. Like the remnants of a dream that fades the moment you wake. Minho sat on the curb, shoulders slumped, hands dangling between his knees, his face tired, eyes red from tears and exhaustion. Beside him, DMU crouched, gaze soft. No lectures, no what were you thinking, just presence. Minho let out a shaky breath. I didn't mean for it to get that far. DMU nodded. But it did. A beat. But you came back, Minho chuckled. A weak, embarrassed sound. I thought if I made everyone notice me, the emptiness would stop. His gaze dropped to the ground. Didn't work. Yeah, DMU murmured, glancing up at the pale sky. Sometimes, the things we think will fix us just make the cracks deeper. Minho sighed. Guess I messed up, huh? You messed up, DMU agreed, but you're not mess up. Minho blinked. Then, despite everything, smiled. That was cheesy as hell, DMU grinned back. Yeah, well, you're welcome. A few steps away, I stood with arms crossed, watching the two boys. The tension in his shoulders slowly eased. His device beeped softly. Alternate AI, residual pattern energy 12%, stabilizing. Minho's core integrity 91% restored. No lasting psychological fractures detected. Could have gone worse. But his gaze drifted skyward, to the spot where the first summon had vanished. The faintest shimmer of light lingered, like the echo of a note just out of hearing range. Why intervene now? Why him? That final message from the summon repeated in his mind. This is not the end. No, it wasn't. Not by a long shot. Departure. The buses lined up along the curb, their engines humming softly. Students, still shaken but smiling, gathered their belongings. Man, someone yawned, this was the wildest field trip ever. Do you think they'll put this in the yearbook? Yeah, caption it. Survived magical meltdown. 10 tense experience. Laughter bubbled up, nervous but real. Minho hoisted his backpack over his shoulder. Guess this is it, huh? DMU nodded. For now. Hey, Minho hesitated. Thanks for, not giving up on me. Don't mention it, DMU smirked. Seriously, don't. I'll never hear the end of it. Minho rolled his eyes but smiled. Jerk. Loser. They bumped shoulders, and that was enough. On the bus, DMU slumped against the window. Outside, the music district rolled past, buildings still glowing faintly, streets humming in soft farewell. His reflection stared back at him, but beyond that, a note drifted by the window. Small, bright, familiar. He pressed his palm to the glass. The note twirled and floated away. Hey, AI's voice murmured from the seat behind him. You okay? DMU shrugged. But yeah, you did good. DMU smiled faintly. Felt like I was winging it. Sometimes, AI said, leaning back, the best things happen when you wing it. Silence stretched between them, comfortable. Then, you felt it though, DMU said quietly. That thing, watching. AI's smile faded. Yeah. Pause. And it wasn't just you. Final glimpse of the city. As the bus crested a hill, DMU looked back one last time. The city glistened in the morning light, notes floating up like tiny fireflies. But on a distant rooftop, a figure stood, still, watching. Eyes gleamed. A slow smile spread across their face. No words, just then gone. DMU blinked. Was that real? His chest tightened. Not fear, not warmth, something in between. Scene closing, the melody continues. As the bus rumbled on, the wind outside carried a faint melody. Soft, unfinished. And somewhere beyond sight, beyond sound, a voice whispered, one pattern ends, another begins. The note lingered, hanging in the air, promising more. And as DMU closed his eyes, he knew. This was just the first verse. The real song had only just begun.